Hello and welcome to the last lookup function lesson, video, whatever you want to call it, that we're doing here today or whenever you're watching them in sequence. So if you watched the other two, which was HLOOKUP and VLOOKUP, this is XLOOKUP, and I mentioned that this is the one to use. If you've never used any of the lookup functions, if you're using Google Sheets, just use XLOOKUP. It is better in every way possible, other than one, compatibility. If you're using an earlier version of Excel, or you know that you're sending this to someone who does use an earlier version, or simply because you're just so used to VLOOKUP or an HLOOKUP and that's what it's used and that's what you've always done, which isn't the best reason to do it, but it is a reason. So XLOOKUP does all of what the other two does and more. And in this video, I'm going to show you. So lookup functions, to just review, basically allow you to pull data. So in this case, we're going to use the employee ID, and we're going to actually pull it from another data set and fill in the missing parts to this one. So we have the employee IDs, we have how much money they owe. Now we need to put a name, email, and department to this said employee. So you can use VLOOKUP for vertical lookups, HLOOKUP for horizontal, and XLOOKUP, which I actually don't know what it stands for, extra awesome lookup. I actually don't know off the top of my head, which maybe I'll put a little thing if I look it up after this video. But XLOOKUP will do all of that and more. To get started, let's do XLOOKUP. Push tab once and you see that. And let's kind of go through this. It has more, which I think can scare some people, but a lot of it's the same. So there's the search key, which is the same. There's the lookup range, which is kind of the same. And then the result range. And then there are three options that are optional. That shows in the bracket, that means it's optional. So missing value, match mode, and search mode. So primarily use the first three or four. And the other ones, like there are some cases that use it, but generally it's just the first ones. So let's take a look. Search key will be the employee ID. Oops. And I, as always, click too much. The lookup range. So this is going to be one row or one column or one row, and it can only be one. But that's going to be your lookup range. So that's matching this employee ID. So in this case, we're doing a vertical look, which is M. And if you know that that's what you're always going to look up for this, it's best practice to put the dollar signs. Now, depending on it, I just chose, and it's kind of how I roll, but I use the entire row just in case there's more data later on. And it's just honestly a little bit easier. It could be M3 there, in which you would need to have another dollar sign. But again, if you push F4, and in some cases you might need to do function F4, depending on just the keyboard setup that you have, that will automatically put it into that absolute range. So this isn't going to change. Next is the result range. And I think this is the most complicated part of it, but also at the same time, if you're doing the entire columns or entire rows, it makes it pretty simple. You have to have the result row in the identical amount. So this is the result. So if it's found in this one, this would be there. And it has to be, the rows or column size should be the same. So that's the biggest thing. Since this is the entire row, then you can do the entire end. So that's going to be the email, or sorry, the name. Now, another bonus to this is that these can actually be arrays. So we could just end it like this and done, but an array is actually a special kind of function that actually allows more than one column or row of data to go into it. So if we actually go Q to R, this range, you can use both of those. You can have more. You can have as many as you want. And if I push enter, look, it goes from the full name and it does the email. So this one, if I look at it there and I delete it, it's going to continue to stay there. This here is what we call the spill. So the array basically means that here's where the function is, and it's going to increase or spill over into that. And so this is especially helpful and very useful. Instead of putting the number like index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is that you can just have it go here. And then you pull it down and you have all these columns. Now, the department here is actually out of order. So unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to easily put that in here. If these were kind of swapped out, you could have it be instead P to it, and then, but again, this would have to match. So this is department, then full name, then email, similar to here. So in this case, since it's kind of out of order, then you would have to put another XLOOKUP here. But just showing you, it's really nice that you can do as many there. You don't have to kind of finagle like the 1 or what's the index 5 and then 4 like the previous videos if you saw. We're going to do the next one, the missing value. If you watch the other videos, and I'm referencing it again, the other videos we actually used the if NA, which means if basically not found, or if there's an error there, what you do. It's actually built into this function. So here you can say not found, or, you know, NA, or you could have it blank, whatever is there. So in this case, I'm going to probably just do not found. Hit enter, and then when I pull it down, this error here is going to be not found now. Pull it down all the way. Now, if it's not found in like this sense, we mentioned this one again, and it's true for XLOOKUP as well. If you're looking up numbers, you have to match it to numbers. If you're going from text, it has to be text. So if this was text 2, then it would be a match. Similarly, if I switch this one to text, it's not going to be found here. So numbers to numbers, text to text. So since all of these are numbers, except for this one, which is to the left, kind of a good indicator it's not, I'm just going to switch it to text, which in this case was the apostrophe. You can, of course, go to the format number and then choose number and then format it to whatever type of number you want, which is this one, I believe. Either way works. Anyway, that one's now set. Here's another one that's not found, and truly, just like the other two videos, it's not found there. So I'm just copying and doing Command F to do find in the sheet. And since this says 1 out of 1, that means that this is the only place for it. So this elusive ID that owes a lot of money is just not found. So something's going wrong there. So that's XLOOKUP here. Again, to find the department here, whoops, you can just paste this over. Make sure, since I didn't reference, absolute reference this, it'll be B3. Just have to kind of adjust it. And then the result range, I want it to be P. And then enter, and here we go. Now we have the departments that it's in. Now, one thing that may or may not help you with this, and again, like a common error, it'd be as if you have a mismatched row. So let's say that this one is, instead of the entire row starts P3, it's not going to be applicable because they're, what, different sizes. So, I mean, looking at this, you can see that this is trying to match it with something, and it's just not going to work with this case here. The other thing that you can do, and in this data set, it is not applicable, but let's say that you have one that starts like 1 and goes to 10, and then you're actually matching it to something that starts at 11 and goes to 20. So that should be the same size. It's just in different places. So it is going to actually work. It'll just go, if this one's found, it's going to go to here, this one to here, this one to here. So, you know, the last one will match with the last one, the first one to the first one, second, third, fourth, etc. So you can, if you have kind of mismatching rows there, use it that way. Generally, though, that's not how it is. So, most data sets are, the same rows and same columns. So in this case, we'll have it here, enter, and now we're good. Now, moving on over to here, let's say that our data set, and I'm just going to close this group. Let's say your data set's this way. We used XLOOKUP for this because it's horizontally set versus vertically. So what you can do here is do equal XLOOKUP. It's the same search keys. So we're going to start here. This time I will reference that it's here. I want it to pull down, but I don't want it to pull sideways. Comma. The lookup range is going to be this top row here. And I'm just going to hold shift and go here. Since this one is one of the ones that it's not the entire row that I'm looking at, I am going to do function F4 and have it stay because I always want it to be at that same table there. And then the result range, since we're doing the full name first, just going to do this one, and I'm going backwards. It doesn't make a difference if you go forwards or backwards, just as long as it is the same. And then function F4 might just be F4, as I said. Missing value, not found. And so enter, and there we go. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if you're using the XLOOKUP, you might be tempted to go, well, I want this one to do that same thing where, it's going to have that spill. And so I want the first name here, and then I want it all the way down here. So that would be switching to 6. If you do that, you can see that it actually matches it the same way. Since it's vertically up there, it's going to be, it's a horizontal lookup. It's going to be horizontal here. So it's going to be in the same column. So if you find this, but you want to reformat it into what would be, kind of the standard, like vertically formatted ones, what you can do instead is you can actually nest this in something called transpose. Now, transpose just has one argument, which is the array or range. And when you do this, it actually switches it from going vertically to horizontally or horizontally to vertically. So just basically changes the way it looks. So now it's in the D here, we're going to switch it, and now it's this way. So this would be a way that you could actually nest it there and then pull it down so it works all the way down. Again, it might just be easier for you to just do XLOOKUP here, XLOOKUP, and then switch it to this way. But again, it's up to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this portion of it. Oops. Escape to undo, paste, put an equal sign here. Now this is good. This is still the same array lookup range, but this one is going to be 4, 4. So again, I just have done this enough. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's row 4. So works out. So administration, pull it down all the way, and there we go. So now we have all of this one also. And so XLOOKUP, again, can do everything VLOOKUP can do, everything HLOOKUP can do, and it's easier to accomplish it. I know I just looked at the first ones. There are other options. Match mode, just to kind of quickly go over there. This would be like the true false. So you can have the search key 0 for an exact match, 1 exact match, or the next value that is bigger, or -1 exact match that is lower. So there's time to do that, and 2 is a wild card. So it just kind of is matching the first whatever ones. Exact match is almost every single time is what you want to do, so keep it optional. Now, if you're wanting the search mode to change, and I will show it over here quick, search mode, that's going to actually show how it's going to look through the range. And this is one that I've actually used before. So this is going to search through the range. One is to search the first entry, because just like the other ones, it only pulls the first true one. So if it's looking down the entire thing, it's going to say, okay, I found a match, here it is. Next, if you do -1, it's going to search the last entry to the first. So it's going to start at the bottom and it goes up. 2 is going to go through binary search. Honestly, I've never used that. -2 is binary and is sorted in descending instead of ascending. So I've not used those. I have used the -1. So it doesn't really make sense to use it here in this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up. And let's just take a look. So here, let's say that we have the emails and we want to see the funds owed and the employee ID. So for the funds owned, the part that this would actually make a difference is if we do XLOOKUP, we're going to do the email as the search key. We're going to search this, just this data set. And I'm going to put it in absolutes. Whoops. There we go. Comma. And then our end results should be funds owed. So that's 3 to 32 as well. Absolute reference, and then missing value not found. Now, I'm going to start it without doing any of it. And this one, oops, there we go. So this one you can see, it's going to match the first one. So specifically, Lorna Yang has $4 owed right here. Now, $4 is found, but there's also, if you look at the very bottom, $45.90 by Lorna Yang. So there's 2 different ones in this. So if we actually switch this to search mode -1, you can see that it actually switches from $4.99 to $45. Why? Because it's searching at the bottom first, then going up. So that's the point where, you know, it's important to know, is it only one instance? Like employee IDs, there should only be one employee ID per name. Funds owed, there could be multiple ones. So depending on what you're looking at, you have to be careful with it. And, you know, again, because there could be a third one somewhere here and we wouldn't really be able to find it with XLOOKUP as we're using it right now. There are other functions that you can use, but XLOOKUP would just be the top one and bottom would be the most you can do. So just keep that in mind. Now, you might have noticed, oops, undo. You might have noticed here too, and I'll do it again and kind of highlight it. The other thing that makes XLOOKUP so much better is that you can actually use a search key, in this case email, and it doesn't have to be the leftmost or the topmost. It can be anywhere in there since it's just the lookup range. So with VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, you have to have the very leftmost be the lookup for your range. And similarly, for HLOOKUP, it has to be the top for your lookup range. XLOOKUP, it can be any part of it. So since I'm looking up the emails, it's right in the middle. And normally I would have to do this and then have the array go here. And the only other thing that we can get would be the departments. For this one though, you can actually use the email there and then look up the result range will actually be more left to it. Again, not found. And then Command Enter. And there we go. So again, oh, why aren't you found, princess? Oh, because and sometimes you'll see things like this. That is just user error. What I forgot to do was absolute reference these at the top. Because you can see it goes from E3, then E4, then 5, then 6, and it just happened to be one of them not found. So again, use absolute references with the $signs and then pull down because that should, yep, fix that one. I totally did that on purpose. Yeah, it wasn't just truly a mistake. But anyway, it's trial and error, honestly, a lot of the times when you start using it. But most of the times, if there's like a mistake where you're like, I know it's there, it's probably that you didn't use the correct referencing. So anyway, that is a lot. XLOOKUP is the way to go. Just in summary, you can do so much more with that than VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. So if you're just learning them, I'd highly recommend using it. There is more that you can do with it, and there's kind of an additional like complexity piece to it, but at the same time, it makes it so much easier to just streamline what you're doing. You don't have to worry about the indexing. You just say, this is what I'm searching. This is what I want the result to be. And again, also instead of doing a nested like if NA, it's already built in. So there's a lot of great tools in it. Hopefully you find it really helpful for what you're doing. In the next one, we're going to kind of look at how we can kind of troubleshoot some of these errors. We've troubleshooted it here. I've made some errors on here and corrected them. And hopefully in your database, in your tables, that you're starting to practice it, using it, and troubleshooting yourself. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye now.